Preview. Preview. Preview.
Evening, good morning, and good afternoon. It's morning in England and evening time here, and we've got Ben Gilroy on one screen here. We've got Dominic Bayliss, and we've got Katie from down around Cork there with the flag in the background. I heard she says she loves that flag and she's going to do something about it. Anyway, over to you, Ben, in Dublin, and what's the hell's happening over there? And can you just tell us a little bit about...
You had me nervous when you said what the time in England was. We're not concerned with the time in England.
England, it's the same as Ireland, mate. They're all behind each other.
It's the same in Ireland. Yeah, look at what is happening in Ireland is the whole shit show is falling apart. I mean, we have a Minister of Transport who's head of the Green Party here, who is advising that food shortages may be coming and we should grow heads of lettuce on our windowsills. Now, I mean, with that sort of advice, the country is going down the shit pipes fairly quick. I took his advice and it took me 3 months to grow the 2 heads of lettuce, and I made 4 sandwiches out of it. So if that's his advice for world food shortages, first of all, they became the most expensive heads of lettuce I ever did, because I had to buy a little tray for them for €12 in Woodies. And I had to pay another €8 for a bag of moss peat to put them in. And then some plant food, I had to do that. And then I had to get some bug repellent to keep the snails off the lettuce. And then I think when I bought the bread and made the sandwiches were working out at about $36 US per sandwich. So really quite expensive. Ironically, on the same day when I went to Lidl to buy the bread to make the sandwich, I could have bought 4 heads of lettuce for 25 cents. So, so it looks like his green policy just is going up in smoke. And now he's the head of the Minister of Transport in Ireland. So we have the airports clogged up. And look, let's be honest about this. The whole shit show is falling apart because it's a worldwide thing with prices rising. We're blaming Ukraine on it. Most of us didn't know where Ukraine was before this nonsense started. The truth of the matter is the whole shortages of everything from oil to food to whatever it might be is caused by lockdowns from the overreaction of the far ultra left, which seems to have taken over the world through media, colleges, and influencing on young college kids. We got a bad flu in 2019, and the panic button was hit. And apparently it was not only an epidemic, but a pandemic. And there's no evidence of a pandemic anywhere in any country in debt figures from any country in the world. All their debt figures have remained static. Hasn't gone up notably or down notably. And because we have now closed down the world for this for almost a year, we're suffering the consequences of that. You cannot close down the entire world's economy and commercial activity and then expect it to just pick up and start where it started from. I mean, Dublin Airport is a prime example. There was, I think, 800 staff let go in Dublin Airport for various reasons. The planes weren't flying through lockdown. Obviously, those people aren't going to wait. They had to get other jobs because they have families to feed. A load of them were threatened with vaccination. If they don't get vaccination, their jobs will be gone. So those people left. And now the problem is that they probably still have the anti-vax rule in place for employment, so they can't get the numbers in. So this is the dilemma that we have from mismanagement of our country, but it's a worldwide thing. I mean, it's not just the Irish government who are idiots, it's all over the world. And whether it's the actual governments running it or unelected bureaucrats like the WHO and the WEF and all these people, Klaus Schwab and all of that, this is the predicament we're left with. And until common sense comes back in and you deal with flus the way we've always dealt with them, you stay at home, you take a Lemsip, you go to bed. I mean, that's still the rule, right? And you let your body do the rest. And then the disaster of vaccines that clearly don't work. And not only did it not work, I mean, if a vaccine works, you're supposed to take one vaccine and it works. Now we're on to the 4th shots here in Ireland, and the data that's coming out from the damage of these vaccines is horrendous. And still, there's still a push on from people who are pushing these vaccines, and not one of these people could tell you one of the ingredients in the vaccine, which I find alarming. Now, people might say to me, well, Ben, where's your medical degree? The truth is, I don't have a medical degree. I have a degree in common sense. I'm almost 60 years of age. I've been using it for a long time. It's not really difficult. I worked on building sites, and you know, if there was a hole in the ground, you basically walked around it. It wasn't rocket science. It was simple. If there was electric wires there, you didn't lick your fingers and grab hold of it. You know, it was really common sense. And why people make this difficult, I don't know. I suppose I could ask the same question of Bill Gates. Where's his medical degree? I think he has as many medical degrees as I have. But that's where we're at the minute. That's the shit show, and we have to pick up the pieces.
The head of cabbage thing. There's a clown up in New South Wales. The energy minister or something. He said to all the people in Sydney, turn your washing machines off tonight, your dishwashing machines, and we're going to save a lot of electricity. Can we just go across to poor old Katie down there in Cork, which is down the bottom of Ireland? I think it'll be the last place to sink if it does get flooded. What's your take on things, Katie?
The real capital of Ireland, just to correct you there, Barry, that's there's nothing poor about Cork. It's the best part of the whole world. So yeah, I guess every time these tyrants push hard against the people, they wake more people up by default. And a lot of people have been just tethered to the ground for the last 2.5 years, surviving this psychological torture. And it is waking more people up and empowering people to kind of stop hurling off the ditch. And, you know, like I know Ben and his lettuce growing experience there was very expensive, but I do know a lot of people who are going out and they're planting their own food, and they're learning by doing, and they're having success. So when these tyrants control the food, they control everything. So more and more people are taking back their power one step at a time. And we're not as ignorant as we were of history and the law and different things. And, you know, those of us who are like myself, who are caught in the net with the Gardaí and the court system, it's been the best education I've ever got in my whole life, going in, learning, seeing the corruption for what it is. Like you can physically feel the lies and the truth when you're in courtrooms now, and you can see what the judiciary are doing. There's no independent organ of state. They're all in each other's pockets. Like I was going via the Constitution, constitutional law and all that, and I abandoned that, and I'm trying went common law and trying all these different things. But you know, if I fail, I learn. So you know, it's always a win. But my pet hate anyway is the obedient civil servants that the authoritarians are using to push this thing down the track on top of everybody. So whenever I get the opportunity to talk to a guard at a courthouse door, or if they stop me interrogating me about something, I always say to them, do you know I'm doing this for your children as well? You know, and like none of us are immune to any of this. It's coming to your door as well, even though you think you're immune to it, you won't be. And I asked them, have you heard of the social credit system? And inevitably, they all look down at their toes. They know exactly what's going on. And, you know, there's no prize for ignorance in any of this. And, you know, like the authorities and the media, they tried to force us to surrender our freedom in the name of safety. And that's backfiring. I mean, you see Sri Lanka has collapsed. Ecuador has collapsed, and I think, or is collapsing. And we just have to be really careful that revolutionary justice doesn't take over instead of restorative justice, you know, because I would hate to see fellas with guns running around in charge of anything. You know, we have to keep sensible and keep calm, but not let these assholes run away with the show either. So it's a delicate balance. And I'm hoping more adults will enter the room instead of just children running around with, you know, letting their emotions take over. It has to be sensible and calm and balanced. I would love to see Micheál Martin and Varadkar and that gobshite Eamon Ryan breaking rocks for the rest of their lives, you know, on a chain gang. That would suit me fine. To build hospitals for all these damaged people that were coerced. Sorry, Barry, I see your hand in the air.
No, that's all right. No, we'll better give Dominic a chance. Dominic, that was good. Okay, Dominic, what's okay, Dominic, what is happening over there in Worcestershire in England, mate? Come on, come up with some news for us, mate. We're all hanging out.
I think everyone's just being hoodwinked, aren't they, really, at the end of the day? As I said, I had a little snooze after work and I woke up and the news was running, the mainstream media, and I just couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe the truffle, the rubbish they were coming out with, the daily dose of fear, I call it. And they were saying that there's a case now of polio, an outbreak of polio in England. That's another scare thing they're throwing in. And what's the other thing? Oh, and yeah, the virus, whatever that virus thing is come back and it's starting to bite people. But it's just in general, I mean, what's going on with Rwanda? I'd like to know what's going on there for starters, because we were going to send all the refugees back there, over there, the ones that are coming in to our country. We're going to send them over to Rwanda. Now, Prince Charles is over there now, and there's some sort of big meetup, isn't it, with the World Economics or whatever they are, they call themselves, I don't know. But what is the agenda there? Because I don't know. That's one thing's bugging me. I'd like to know what's going on with Rwanda. Is it because of all the, was it the Tutus? What are they called now? There was a lot of genocide, wasn't there, over there?
They have a lot of civil wars over there, you know.
Yeah, I think like 1 million got killed or something, and I don't know. I mean, why are we sending over and trying and doing what we're doing with Rwanda? It's just one little thing. Confused.
Are they happening back there in Ireland? Because they're going to happen again, because it's now time for the banks to make their money. All these poor people who've got big loans to get them back.
They are going to try. There was one recently there in Carlow. There was shocking footage of it because it was carried out by the Gardaí here. And like Katie said, most Gardaí haven't a clue what they're doing. There's a certain ilk that the Gardaí go searching for when they're recruiting. I remember when I was 18 years of age, I had thought I would like to become a guard, and I did all the exams, and I'm a smart enough guy and I passed the exams. But at interview stage, I realized I wasn't what they were looking for. And I remember my mother picked me up from the interview because I wasn't driving at the time. And she asked me, how did I get on? And I remember this. I mean, I'm almost 60 years of age and I was 18 at the time. And I still remember today getting into the car and my mother says, how did you get on with the interview? And I said, well, I was tall enough, but I wasn't thick enough.
That means stupid, by the way, if anybody doesn't understand the word thick.
Yeah. So that was the truth of the matter. And look, Gardaí in Ireland, the Gardaí are slightly different to most police forces around the world, because the police enforcers are policy enforcers, where in Ireland we have Garda Síochána, which means guardians of the peace. So, you know, it's just to make sure there's no breach of peace. That's really what their job is. But now they're out evicting people. Now, if anybody believes from the Irish history of being under the Crown system for 800 years and the way people were dragged from their homes by British landlords and stuff like that. And by the way, I'm not blaming British people, so Dominic, you can relax here.
He's Irish. He's 100% Irish.
Yeah, but this is about the Crown system, because I have a lot of friends in the UK and they're always saying, you're always having a go at us. No, it's the British Crown system. I mean, they're as much to the victim of the British Crown system than we are. But if anybody thinks that having gained our independence and having our constitution written, that anybody would believe that we somehow gave authority to the Gardaí to evict families on behalf of commercial banks in Ireland, needs their head examined. And especially in circumstances where the banking troubles of 2009 have indebted every man, child and woman in this country to the tune of something like 36,000. COVID has now brought it up to 48,000 per head were in debt. And this is through the sheer mismanagement and corruption of bailing out gamblers on a stock exchange who didn't pay any taxes on their massive wins, and didn't share their profits with the country when they won. And yes, when they lost, we had to bail them out. Now, I would love an account like that with Paddy Power, where I could gamble away till my heart's content. And when I win, I don't give you guys anything. But when I lose, you all have to pick up the tab. What an excellent system of gambling that would be. So this is the sort of skullduggery, a lot of hard work. And look, most people accept worldwide that the Irish people pay their debts and they're good, hardworking people. And so something glitched along the way that suddenly all of these families and all of these businesses since 2009 cannot pay their debts. And the reason is it's from banking chicanery, where the banks should have gone to prison. Instead, they were bailed out. And the irony of this, of course, is that when the people go to court, they're facing top lawyers on behalf of the banks, who the banks couldn't afford them before they were bailed out by the people. So the people's money are paying the barristers to get them evicted from their homes. I mean, this is just, I mean, it's horrendous.
It's crazy.
If I've got something dodgy going on, where's my common law court? Is John Smith still doing it over here or what?
Well, John was doing it for 4 years and battling and stuff, and he did really well. So we can't knock him, because without him we wouldn't know what we know. Kevin Arnott started it up in Canada, and he was a minister in the Anglican Church. His bishop sacked him, but he brought the Pope down. The Pope, Spain picked up on the fact that Benedict was charged was a molester and a Nazi, and Spain gave the Catholic Church X amount of time for him to stand down. He didn't, so The Hague issued a warrant on behalf of the common law court, and he's still a prisoner in the Vatican. So that's what really happened there. And it's still on Google. You can still Google it.
Where's my common law court then if I've got a problem?
There's on the common law. Common law goes back to the man and woman. It goes back to the King Alfred the Great set it up after the wars between the Vikings and stuff, and he set that up. Then there was all genamic wars, there were barbaric laws, and he brought them all under the one common law. And King Henry carried it on. So I'm just asking. Interrupting when I'm butting in.
Sorry, but I'm just asking. I'm going back to where I was before.
Yeah, where were you? Right. Go on then. But I'll go back to recording in a minute. Jesus, help me.
Where do I go? Right, with my common law issue, where do I actually go in?
Okay, so there's many writs at common law, so it depends which one you want to enforce. If someone took, say, my property, like let's say a guard or a police officer takes some property belonging to me because it wasn't taxed or whatever it is, you can go into a common law court and you set up the court as a common law court. The plaintiff sets the court. Like I could sue Barry for assault. Right. That would be a common law court. There's plenty of common law courts in Ireland. People just forget that, because when you're brought to court, quite often you'll see on a summons contrary to common law. So if you're being brought to court on something that's contrary to common law, you must be in a common law court. But what they do is they run the whole shit show like it's some sort of statutory setup for common law. And it can't be that. A court is a concept. People got to remember this. A court, it doesn't matter about the address of the court or where it's been held. It's a concept. And the concept is basically this, that at common law, and we live in a common law jurisdiction, by the way, we don't live in a common legal jurisdiction or a common statutory jurisdiction. There's no such thing. And the way I describe common law and statutory courts is when the court is commencing and starting its proceedings, it either is common law or statutory. And if you think of standing on a platform and getting on a train, and the train is pulling out of the station, and you're saying, well, am I on the train or am I on the platform? You can have 1 foot in each. But as soon as the train starts moving and picking up speed, you then have to decide, I'm on the train or I'm on the platform. And it's a bit like that with the common law and statutory courts. So what I normally do is in my papers, I can decide, I could say that Barry breached a contract with me. Contract law is common law. So it's basically the parties have decided the law between them, because consent of the parties makes the law. And if myself and Barry agreed that he has to paint my fence pink in this contract, and that I had to give him €200 to do so, and he painted it blue, and I gave him €200, well, then the contract, he has breached it, and that's common law. It was made between two men to paint the fence. So that's the simplicity of it. Now, if a police officer comes and he takes some property belonging to me and he's relying on some statutory power to do that, if he goes to a statutory court will find in his favor, because you were in statutory house, if you like. And it's all about jurisdiction. So if you think of the jurisdiction of my house here, I could insist that guests entering my home leave their shoes at the hall door. I don't insist on that, but you could do, and if you don't, you're not welcome in. And that's because this is my common law area here, if you like, and they're my rules, because you're in my house. Now, that's why you have to be careful what court you walk into, because if you walk into a statutory court and you start talking about common law, you're in the wrong place. And to give you an example of this, a good example of this is, let's say there was a burglar broke into my house. He's climbing up the drain pipe to get in. The drain pipe gives way. He falls and breaks 2 bones in his arse. Okay, now he's suing me. Okay, so he's suing me in court. And straight away, I'm standing up to the judge because I haven't a clue of jurisdiction and I don't know where I am. And I'm thinking the judge is going to be honorable and he must hate burglars. And I keep saying, but Judge, he's broken into my house. You know, he's a criminal. He broke into my house. And the judge says, sit down, Mr. Gilroy, sit down, shut up. I can't hear that matter. Really, what he's saying is, you're in a civil court. He's suing you on a civil matter and you want to talk about something criminal. I've no jurisdiction to hear that. That's why he's telling you, I can't hear you, sit down. And then everybody walks out of court thinking, oh, the judge was corrupt. He was corrupt as hell. Imagine he gave an award to a burglar. And really, it's just because you didn't know the venue you were in, and the burglar knew the venue he was in. So don't bring a badminton racket onto the Wimbledon court, because you're going to lose, because you're going on to the wrong court with the wrong equipment, and you have to know the court you're going into. So if I go into a statutory court suing the Garda in one of their statutory courts, saying he had no lawful authority to take my property, I will lose. And the reason I will lose is because I'm in a statutory court where the statutory powers gave him the power to take my property. So what I need to do is I need to start learning some of the common law writs, like trover, replevin, detinue, trespass, trespass on the case, all those sort of writs of common law. So then what you do is you go into common law court under the writ of detinue, and that means return my property. You had no lawful right to take it, not a legal right. He may have had a legal right to take it, but he had no lawful right to take it. And we live in common law. So when you go into a common law court, you set it up as a common law court. So, and people say, well, how do you set it up as a common law court? Well, all common law courts are courts of record. And if you look at the statutory acts, they recognize the courts from 1924, that some of the courts, the High Court and the Circuit Court in Ireland, this says shall be a court of record. That doesn't mean it must be a court of record. It just shall be a court of record if you set it up that way. So when I go into court, if I'm doing one of the common law writs, I will say, and this is the claim. So when you claim something on your paperwork, this is how you claim it. Your first claim you make, I make the following complaint and I bring to this common law court of record. So now you've established a court. Because like I said, I could say, Barry, I'm taking you to court for breaching contract. He may never have breached a contract with me, but that doesn't stop me bringing him to court on a common law writ of breach of contract. I could also say, Barry punched me in the face, and bring him in for common law assault. I could bring him in for some statutory obligation that he had to me, and I bring him into a statutory court. None of those writs are real. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean he did it or didn't, but all it proves is that the plaintiff actually establishes the court and brings it to the proper court.
Yeah, well, in Australia, Ben, in Australia, the courts are 100% private. So, and of course, they're on 5 different levels. So you need 5 flags. I mean, if you walk into a court and you could put 5 Japanese flags, it becomes a Japanese flag. But here they've gone completely woke. So we have a level playing field. It's totally independent. It's the people do the court. It's on. We have a really place that can hold 500 people, and we get over 100, maybe 200 people turn up in the audience, on which we pick a jury. Yeah. And first of all, if we charge somebody, what do? We send them a summons to come for mediation. The cameras are set up. If they come, it's settled. If not, they get a summons to come to court. Then they have to put the case before the jury, the plaintiff, and the jury then make a decision on the penalty and so on and so forth. And so far it's worked because we've had some very, very powerful results, and the ones we just had recently are absolutely astronomical. But that's just another story, because in Australia they got rid of common law completely in 1918, and then when the Labour Party got in after 23 years, they got rid of the Queen, got rid of the Constitution, and removed common law from the people 100%. So it's a different kettle of fish.
I hear your melodious tones from Cork.
Katie, you're being called on
my
to say
singing
something.
cleared the place faster than the Gardaí and mass during lockdown, you know. But I don't know, like it's a journey we're all learning by doing. The document you sent me a while ago, Barry, I'm still trying to digest it, reading all the different layers and meaning of words and everything. When you go into the court, it really is like landing on another planet, and the connections between the bank, the Crown Forces, the Freemasons, the Vatican, it's all a big enmeshed crock of shit anyway. And if they're into magic, then we need to break the spell of the status quo by standing up and keep standing up, even though it's been pretty exhausting for anyone who's been an activist out on the street, meeting with people and trying to convince people that, wait, there's actually more going on here. And I guess just keep drawing attention to the big wallets that are paying for all the blinding lights around us and calling them out when we see it. So that's my part in this. I'm not a legal expert. I'm an idiot of all of this stuff. I'm only learning by doing in my own experience in the courts and seeing what's happening to other people. And it's always really interesting. Like the analogies Ben gave there were really interesting. And just talking about the 1924 Courts of Justice Act, are any of you following what Pat Closey has been doing with that? He's done a lot of research into the fact that the commencement order number 5 was never commenced, and they've been digging around looking for the document and it doesn't seem to exist. So Pat has done a lot of work, but that is the statutory courts that I think they,
Katie,
sorry Barry, go ahead.
The thing about statutes, I think people are going to realize they only apply to the dead. So if you're a person, a corporation, and they don't apply, no statute of law applies to a man. And if anybody can show me that, it's only mentioned in our constitution, man and woman in marriage. And we don't any time for that at all. You just got to, if you're asked for your identification, what do you produce? You produce your driving license, so you've contracted. So you got to have an independent ID as a man or a woman, and it doesn't. There's no law. If anybody can show me any act where it says a man or a woman, and then I'll contract with them. But it doesn't work. We don't get involved in that.
Yeah. So I was about to say that it's a journey, and like people do start off thinking they're citizens. And you know, I have Ireland here. Ireland is the corporation name for this country, but I like the design of my T-shirt, so I decided to wear it.
Lovely.
So, but it is a journey, and like, you have to, I know we don't really have a lot of time for people to be learning slowly and transitioning from one system to the other, but it's part of the process. You have to go through it and see it for what it is and then move on to the next thing. So that's my final thought on that. But I agree with you, you know, the living and the fiction and all that, but that is part of the...
And the language as well. You see, when they send you something out, it comes in boxes and there's no continuity. So you got to put back and make a claim. Minors make claims. So with the knowledge of fact and the knowledge of claim and the fictional language, you know, I've put a document as ours on our website. The address is up there. You can download it to go to court. So if you have to go into their system, which only fools and corporations go there, you send them the conditions on which you will attend. You're like, I accept your summons to do business on your vessel in dry dock as the principal for the deceased estate. And you've laid the conditions down of entry, because when you walk into a statute court, you're automatically guilty. So this has worked several times. And you put a stamp on it, and on the back, a line down and the stamp and endorse it at 45 degrees. It becomes under the bill of landing. So therefore, everybody knows you can't interfere with the post. So they'll have to give you a receipt for that document, and they can't say they didn't get it on court. So you're there as the principal, and then you can have the argument, not with the clown up on 5 benches or 5 levels up, on the same level as you as the prosecution. You ask them as full disclosure, and they will try and get your name, but you say, I am the principal. And if they ask you who that is, you hold up there's Mr. Smith. He's a piece of paper. I'm the principal. And now you swap places with and make them the trustee and then thank them for paying the fine.
Like you said, Ireland is the corporation, but Ireland is also the country. The Republic of Ireland is the political status of the country. But don't have them, you know, that you can't use the terms you want. I mean, the country is Ireland. When we refer to Ireland, we refer to it as the country. It's Ireland. That's what we mean. We don't mean their corporate fiction states that of which we're not employees, even though they want us to make us believe we're employees. I mean, I tried to explain to a judge one time that I wasn't a citizen, and he tried his best to get me to be a citizen on the citizenship. And I said to him that I'm not a citizen. I said, nowhere in my papers does it say I'm a citizen. And he says, what do you describe yourself as? And he looks at my affidavit and he goes, I'm one of the people of Éire. And he says, what does that mean? And I said, you're a High Court judge and you don't know who we the people are. Is that what you're actually telling me? That you are a High Court judge in a republic and you don't know who we the people are? And if you want to tell me that you don't accept there are anybody left in the group we the people, then your authority automatically falls away, because the Constitution was given by we the people for you to sit up there as a judge and deal with all that legalistic shit. So for the corporations operating in Ireland, the country. So if you don't want to do that, then he said to me, do you own a passport? And I said, no, I don't own a passport. And then the barrister who was against me sniggered at me like a child. I always remember it was alarming to me to see a man he must have been about 62 years of age. And to see a man turn into a child, like he sniggered like this, look, at me. And then he stands up and he said, Mr. Gilroy was in Spain last week. Maybe you can explain to the court how he got there without a passport. And of course, he looks over at me and I go like this back to him. And I get up and I said, yes, I can explain how I got to Spain. I said, the minister gave me a loan of his passport, because I said inside the passport, it says this remains the property of the minister. So I said, that's how I got there. There's no great there's no great mystery to this. And it was hilarious. And barristers were coming in. You could see them sniggering under their breath. And the judge was getting madder and madder. He was trying to convince me that I wasn't the man. I don't even understand the logic. But this is, remember, this is the Freemasonic game. Yeah. They're all in the club. It's a big club and we're not in it. And we don't want to be in it. Don't think that by being in it, it's something great. You know, we are made in God's image. And as such, you know, we are the highest beings on the earth. And you're quite correct, Barry. There is no statute that applies to man and woman. And we know this because I know a guy in America who gave something like $500,000 reward to anybody who could show him that a man was required to pay tax in law. And to date, and I'm thinking that offer must have been made close on 20 years ago. And to date, nobody has been able to take up the offer. So I'm quite sure money talks and bullshit walks. And if there was such an act that required any man to pay tax, he would have come up with it. Josephine Feely, who was the head of revenue in Ireland, gave a speech one time at the McGill School, and she said that because we govern by consent, we tax by consent. So you have to consent into this sort of stuff. And once you understand that, and the simplicity of it is we are men and women. Acts and statutes do not apply to us unless we contract it. And that's it. There's no other issue on this. And then it becomes farcical when they try to pretend that somehow you are a citizen when you're clearly not. It's like trying to convince me that I was a donkey when clearly I was not. So and it's funny to watch them. You're trying to.
You're surrounded by them, Ben.
Yeah. Well, I probably could prove they were donkeys quicker than me. But like, you can have fun. I always say to people to have fun with this, because if you're not having fun, you're probably not doing it right. And it's important to have fun with it and expose them for what they are. These are nothing more than Freemasonic members who want to rip off the people of their rights and their wealth for their own personal gain. And that's the way it has always been.
Sorry, Dominic, go ahead.
You just look at the on a policeman's the band around the policeman's cap. It's Freemasonry, isn't it? The black and white, straight away, and the flooring, but and everything.
If you go into the High Court as well, you have the Masonic sacred geometry on the floor, all in black and white. And
Exactly,
as you
yes.
go up the stairs and around the corridors, the center tile, what do we call that, Katie? That center tile, like a border tile, is that what they call it? You will notice that they put me in jail for 3 months for basically telling a judge that he was a corrupt Freemason and he was a member of a secret society. And I told him that. So I went to jail for telling the truth, which is an extraordinary thing in a court. He didn't deny it. And of course, he was a Freemason and he is in a secret society. And I told nothing but the truth. And the barrister that I was against was also a member of the secret club. And I said, I'm not going to get a fair trial here. You're a member of this secret organization, and so is he. I said, I'm a member of a club. It's not a secret club. It was a member of a GAA club, and I wanted to know, could my football manager come in and be the judge in the case? Because then I thought it would be fair that if my club member could be the judge, at least the scales of justice might have been leveled out. But these courts in Ireland are purely shambolic. I mean, they have lost all credibility. I mean, talk to anybody in Ireland, and people often wonder within the legal system why people are of the view you wouldn't trust a solicitor as far as you'd throw one.
Sure.
And it's because through people like me and Casey speaking out and others, that people are starting to cop on to this, the same as everybody else around the world. There's an awakening as to how come these people have more rights than us. If we were put on the earth by God, how can anybody have more rights than us?
The best evidence of that is on Netflix. If you got Netflix, there's 2 movies. They're documentaries. One is called The Staircase. They're true stories. These guys have, well, and the best one, Making a Murderer. It's about.
I've seen that one.
Isn't it brilliant? And The Staircase is similar. Now these guys, and this Steve Avery, he's got the best solicitor or attorney in America. They call them attorneys. That got people out of jail, and she goes back into the court, and she has to be so careful she doesn't upset their system, but they just blatantly lie and cheat. And that poor man is still in jail. He spent, just for the matter of people watch these things, 18 years in jail. The police knew he was innocent because somebody in the next county had said so. He got out after 18 years in jail because of the what do you call blood test anyway. Then DNA. Then he sued the city and they sent him back to jail on a budgie murder, and he's still in jail today, and he's 100% innocent, and some of his family as well. The system is rotten. We stay out of it. Only fools and corporations end up in their system. So walk away.
Yeah, but that's why sometimes it's good to highlight it as well, because if you don't highlight the corruption even from within, because otherwise you'll never get into the system to show how corrupt it is, because people on the outside just can't believe how corrupt it is. And to give you an example of this, I was actually, when I accused the judge of being a secret member of a secret society, he jailed me for 3 months. And when I went to jail, I realized he actually put me in on a wrong court order. He said I was in breach of a court order, and that never happened. So I did a habeas corpus from my prison cell, and I proved to the court that the order wasn't given. And the judge goes, oh no, we can't look behind the order. We can't look behind the order. And then I was able to prove that even on the face of the order, it was wrong. But I had to do every hour of the 3-month sentence. I didn't get 1 day off even on the 3-month sentence. And yet David Drum, who was the Anglo-Irish Bank executive who got 6.5 years in jail, he was in jail the same time I was. And he is out now, and he got 4.5 years of a sentence struck off. So he did 2 years, and he did the cushiest of time in an open prison, because I was in Mountjoy, and he was sent from Mountjoy. When I entered Mountjoy, he was sent off to an open prison in Cavan, where you could walk out of the prison down the town so long as you returned that evening. And then he did 2 years of that, and has now probably gone back to his plush pad on the south side of Dublin with maybe 3 or 4 million keep your mouth shut money, as I call it. And he had to be the fall guy. So 2 years in prison, and he comes out now to probably 10 million packet for keeping his mouth shut. I'd have done 2 years standing on my head for that sort of money.
I would have gone with you, but then the thing is the people, the ordinary, the minimum, I call them the walking dead. I mean, how in the name of God do we get them on board? I mean, really, because they're beyond stupid.
There is an awakening, because the more, I think the Freemasons and the system itself has sort of shot itself in the foot in a way, because it had a nice system running where it was screwing everybody and everybody was fast asleep. But they overstepped their mark and overstepped their authority. And when they had us like locked up in our own home because there was a cold, somebody caught a cold, I think they sort of overstepped it and overplayed it, and they're desperately trying to play that back and to make it real again. And nobody's buying into the bullshit anymore. And that's why it's sort of a great awakening now that most people will see it for whatever reason, whether it's the legal system, the medical system, the religious system, whatever all these systems they're all designed to control us and keep us under. So whether we learn to through the legal system or the medical system or whatever it might be, there is an awakening right across the scale where Katie mightn't know much about the court system being corrupt. I might know more about the banking system being corrupt and vice versa. We're all connecting on the same level, that we've all realized the whole system is run by the Freemasons and the Jesuits, and it is corrupt to the utmost that you can't believe. These people would put people in jail, take their lives, rape their children, take their inheritance, and they don't give a shit. So that's the system.
Have you read the Jesuit Oath?
What's that?
Have you read the Jesuit Oath? It's terrifying. It's the most evil thing I've ever heard. It's just, whoa.
No, I haven't seen that.
Well, Ben, I got to answer a question in Dublin I wanted to do for a long time. I was back there in 2019. I spent the afternoon at high tea with the Lord Mayor in Dublin.
Yes.
And I asked him, I'll put a photograph up to prove it, actually. I asked him, how could you be the Lord Mayor in a republic? And he says, it's just tradition, he said. It's just tradition. But the Mansion House has got a reputation, and it's probably still linked to England in some way or other. It was an interesting conversation. He's a hell of a nice guy, but it was interesting.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to ask that question.
Guys. Yeah, but a lot of them are nice guys because they need their sales assist, if you like, to sell the system. And they can't all be overtly evil, because otherwise who would deal with them at all? So quite often you'll have the nicest of judges in the High Court. Oh, sit down here and don't be nervous, and there'll be no difficulty. And then when you realize they're screwing you and you start to, no, Mr. Good, I'm giving my judgment now. I'm giving my judgment now. Don't interrupt me, you know, and you think, oh, you just conned me. But I'm so used to that now from, 15 years of it, that it's actually funny now the way I turn them upside down within the court. They absolutely hate me in their court system now, because I've learned every trick in the book and all their word wizardry. So it's kind of funny. There's an atmosphere when I walk into the court and I sense it. I used to get an atmosphere from them when you walk in. I'm like a kid going into school up to see the headmaster. But now the sort of tables are turned. When I walk into court, you see them sort of nodding at each other and thinking, oh, fuck, not him again. And it's hilarious from that point of view. But I read a book. I found an old book in an old bookshop in Dublin, and it was called The Administration of Ireland 1920. And I had a picture of the harp on the front cover with the crown still on top. And in the book, it had the oath of office for a policeman or a judge or a president or whatever the case may be. And I showed a picture from this book, and you can clearly see I didn't tamper with the book. It's a very old book. You'd know by the yellowness of the pages. But the oath is similar to the oath of the judges today. But what it says is that I swear in the presence of Almighty God that I will not do this and I'll not do that, and I'll be good and integrity and all this sort of stuff. And I do not belong to any secret society, or I will not be a member of any secret society unless it be the Freemasons. And that's actually written in. So this is where this system comes from. And I have that in black and white in the book. I'm going to send you a picture of the cover of the book, Barry, and the page with it. And like they didn't hide it. This was in this book. And because they're living in this system for so long that it's acceptable to them. They sort of think nearly everybody knows it. And they realize somewhere along the way that the actual people don't know, because they're still coming into their courts getting screwed over for stupid things like TV license. I mean, I seen a lady going to jail for not having a mask on in court. I mean, talk about not knowing your rights, so this is the system. But we have to try and educate the people, and that's what we're doing. And I must say we're doing it quite well, because the number of people now in Ireland that I see around the place that are trying to study common law and don't trust the guards and don't trust the courts, and solicitors are corrupt. And it's great because their system, they really have, the way I describe it is, they're like, it's a dike coming, you know, and they're trying to hold back the water, and the dike is starting to break, and they got their fingers in a couple of holes in the dike, but really they know the system is going to implode on itself fairly soon.
Well, that's what's happening here, because I mean, as I said, the common law court, it wasn't coincidental. The papers were delivered on Tuesday, Wednesday. It's on all over the news on Thursday morning. These 4 ministers all resigning, so they all know they're walking on ice, and they know it.
Will undergo a major cabinet reshuffle following the resignation of 4 of its most senior ministers. Reporter Nicole Asher joins us now from Melbourne. Nicole, what did the Premier have to say about today's mass resignation?
Thanks, Kirsten. Well, yeah, look at what is being called the mass resignation has delivered a significant blow to the Premier's senior lineup. Among those leaving are the Deputy Premier James Merlino, the Police Minister Lisa Neville, the Health Minister Martin Foley, and the Sport Minister Martin Pakula.
And they know it.
Yeah.
So they're going to crash
of course,
here.
they understand the common law system probably better than we do.
Yeah.
And they probably understand the importance of it, maybe even better than some of us do, you know. So you got to remember they had to bastardize the system from the original common law system.
Ben and Katie and Dominic, we had an interesting chat tonight. We'll do this again sometime in the near future, or on a periodic period, wherever. Anyway, I'd like to thank you all for coming over. So this is London News saying goodbye to Dublin, UK, and Cork down in Ireland. That's the last place to sink, remember, when it's wet. Anyway, bye everybody.
See you later. Bye.
Hi everyone, this video has been brought to you by freedomfromalldebt.com, itsnotourdebt.com and defendourhomesleague.ie. Please enjoy, we have an interview after the video. Thank you.
And I have an order and I'm not showing it to anyone, I don't have to show it to anyone.
Excuse me, John.
Mr. Wilson can see it if he's welcome to see it.
Mr. Wilson, can you see the order here?
John, sorry. Guards, are you on your oath here today?
Sorry?
Are you on your oath here today?
We're only here, it says the sheriff.
Yeah, but are you on your oath here today?
Garda oath.
Are you on your Garda oath here today?
I've no comment to make to
Okay, well, it's on YouTube anyway, so the Gardaí aren't even on their oath.
Do you know your oath?
Go on, have a look. Yeah, have a look.
Have you identification? No, I don't have identification.
Well, then sure, we don't know who you are. That's a piece of paper.
It's the warrant signed by the county registrar.
Yeah, but who are you?
County Sheriff Pat Dunn is my name.
Right.
Mr. Wilson knows me here.
Yeah, but are you the sheriff or not the sheriff?
I'm here representing the sheriff.
Representing the
Yeah, but we rang your office yesterday and you told us outright you were the sheriff. Why is the sheriff not here?
You didn't speak to me yesterday. Tell you the truth.
No, we rang your office. We rang your office and they're all saying you're the sheriff and you're not the sheriff.
I am the sheriff, yes.
You're not the sheriff.
You
just said you're deputy sheriff. Are you the sheriff? Hold on. Are you the sheriff or not the sheriff?
Look, I've no further comment to make.
Then, okay, but then sure, go on about your business then, because you've no business here.
I'm here on the authority of the courts to execute a warrant.
Yeah, that's right. And we haven't seen the warrant, nor have we seen the court orders yet. And we ask you who you are. Right, and you said you're assistant sheriff. Why is the sheriff not here today?
That's the court order.
Who signed it?
What's the proof
Who signed it? Patterson. The sheriff has signed it. But that's the sheriff.
That's the warrant, yeah?
Yeah, but that's the sheriff.
Yeah.
The sheriff is signing his own orders.
I'm sorry. Mr. Wilson has gone through the courts.
I understand that.
He's appealed this.
I understand, we know that.
I know down right up to the High
Yes.
Court. And our instructions is to execute the warrant.
Exactly. What I'm saying to you is, your warrant is signed by the sheriff. Ben Gilroy is my name.
Yes. And who are you representing?
I'm representing Defend Our Homes League here today.
Yeah.
Right? Now what I'm saying to you is, that order is signed by the sheriff.
Yeah.
Right, so he's making his own orders as a private company to come and take homes.
Look it. This is fully legal. Okay?
It's what?
If you want to go to the courts and contest the order, you're more than free to do it.
Hold on, but sure, the registrar is the guy up on the bench where they're doing the orders and he's signing his own orders and coming as sheriff then to inflict them.
Yeah.
You think that's legal?
This order has been through the court.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But the person who gives the order is the registrar, right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Yes, in some
he
cases,
has jurisdiction,
in some
yes,
cases.
except Dublin and Cork, that's right. But in Laois it is. Yes.
No, it's not always in Laois.
No, we're talking about the registrar in Laois. He's the same, he's the sheriff and the registrar.
The sheriff County registrar, exactly.
Yes,
That's
so that's
his
my
title.
point.
He's
right.
the sheriff.
So
county
that's not
registrar.
lawful. He sits up on
Yeah.
the bench
Well, that's
with
it.
his registrar's hat on, makes an order,
Yeah.
steps down, puts on his sheriff's
Well,
hat,
if
and
you-
now makes money out of inflicting these orders on
What do you
people.
mean makes money?
He's making money as registrar or as the sheriff.
He's employed as county registrar sheriff.
I understand. I've
As
no
a-
problem.
under a
I
week's
have no.
wages.
I understand. I've no problem with a week's wages
Yeah.
as registrar.
Yes.
My problem is when he gives an order, he steps down off the bench and is a private company then acting as sheriff.
If you have a problem with that,
We have a huge problem with that
Well,
because it's not lawful, and
take-
we're asking the Gardaí
take
to
it up.
uphold the law
take it
today.
up with the courts. No point in taking it up with me.
But the point is, when I'm saying to you about the sheriff's office, when I go to the courts, the sheriff then puts on his court hat. That's totally
that's-
illegal, and there's no separation of powers there.
But if it was illegal, why has it been going on for generations?
Because it hasn't been going on here. It hasn't. I tell you, okay, I tell you why. Because now the people have educated themselves, and they're not people with pitchforks anymore.
right, yeah.
They're educated people to stand
This is
up
it,
to
yeah.
the likes of
But
you
you're-
coming doing these orders.
Mr.
And we're asking the
Miss-
Gardaí today
Mr.
now to
Wellstead-
uphold the law.
Mr. Wellstead went into the courts and appealed it on various
And
grounds.
what business of that is yours? Like what I'm saying to
he's
you is
done.
you're a private company.
I'm not a private
You
company.
are. Who are you then?
I'm here from the sheriff's
And
department.
who pays your wages?
The sheriff, the
Yes.
civil service.
Yes, exactly. They're a private company though. They act on commission.
We're not a private.
They act on commission.
Who does?
Do they act on commission or not? The Sheriff's Department.
I get absolutely nothing whatsoever for this today, other than my week's wages, which I will get on Friday.
And it's a proud week's wages to get. Come
Well,
and take
I
Irish
have
family
no-
homes off people.
Look, I'm sorry, I don't take any pleasure out of this no more than anyone else.
Right.
I have
Well,
to say,
look,
and
all
doing
I'm
this-
saying to you is,
I've been doing this job for almost 31 years.
Right.
Tell you the truth. And my work has never been questioned.
right,
And
well,
I've never.
Well, it's about time it has been.
I've always
lot of
dealt
people
with
question
questions
why here today.
I've always dealt with people in as much a business-like fashion as I
right.
could.
Well,
And
then
Mr.
let me
Wellstead
ask you
knows that
then.
as
Right, well, when you have that sort of fairness then, do you
Yeah.
think it's fair that the registrar, right, makes an order to repossess a house and steps down and puts his sheriff's hat on
What the
and comes in?
registrar does is way above me, to be honest with you. I'm
That's
sorry
not the
to
question
say.
I'm asking you.
But you're,
I'm not
but you're
asking
here
you
on
that
behalf of him
Well,
today.
I'm not going to
I'm
comment
asking
whether
you-
it's fair or unfair. It's not my job to comment
Well,
whether it's fair
is
or
it
unfair.
lawful then?
Well, it obviously is lawful.
Why? What obvious to whom? I mean, to most people, it's not obvious.
It's obvious that the courts say it's fair.
But he is the courts.
He is the court.
That's like asking me, is it fair that we don't let you in here today?
sure,
Of course that's fair.
Look, would you keep going around that circle forever?
I'm asking
so
you a
could-
question though, and I keep asking you the same question.
Yeah.
The registrar gives the order,
Yes.
then he puts on his sheriff's hat and tells you go and repossess the
Yeah,
home.
exactly,
And
yeah.
you think that's fair?
That's right,
And
yeah.
lawful?
Yeah.
No, well, I'm telling you it's not. And I'm asking the Gardaí today to uphold common law, which they're sworn to do. And this is not
Yeah.
common law. Now, also under the Constitution, a man's house is inviolable under the Constitution except as to law. What law did this man break?
I'm not saying he broke any law.
Right, but then why are we here?
He broke no law.
The Gardaí should represent the
I'll tell you
Constitution.
why you're here, because he got a mortgage which hasn't been paid.
Yeah, but the bank got paid for it though.
No, the bank's
The
not-
bank got
Securitization.
The bank got paid for it.
If they did, I wouldn't be here.
Now look,
Did answer that question.
hold on a second. What I'm saying to you today is, under the Constitution, Section 40, Section 5, subsection 5, a man's house is unviable under the Constitution except as to the law. We're all law-abiding people. And what I'm saying to you is, respect the law, and the Gardaí should respect the law as well. The common law, which they were sworn to uphold. And the man has not broken any law, so his home is unviable.
Well, why am I here? I don't know why I'm standing here today.
Yeah,
but-
neither do we.
We're saying the same
That's
thing.
all the case.
But the court judgment is signed by your boss, the sheriff.
Well, I mean, if everything you say,
It's true. Well,
which is true.
Will I show you the Constitution?
I don't see the Constitution. I'm not a solicitor.
You don't
to be
need to be a
honest.
solicitor to
No,
see the
but I'm not-
Constitution.
I don't want to see the Constitution.
Well, the
I mean,
guard will
if
tell you what the Constitution is, I'm sure.
You've got sufficient time to go back into the courts with the Constitution.
We'll be going back into the court, but
Well,
what
why
I'm
haven't
saying
you
to
done it before
because
today?
there's a challenge before the courts, and we're asking you to hold on until such a time as that's heard.
Yeah, but Mr. Wellstead got a stay of
Signed
execution.
by your boss.
No,
Yeah.
he didn't.
No,
he
but
went
your
to the high,
stay.
He
Yes,
went to the
I
High Court and
understand
got
that.
a stay of execution,
That's right.
which no longer stands.
Yes, I understand that.
Yes,
But the
yeah.
judge at the time
Yeah.
was not aware that there's a constitutional
Yeah.
challenge being made as to the power of the registrar.
Yeah.
A registrar has only got the jurisdiction of something like 36,000 in the circuit court, am I right? Are you telling me this
Yeah.
house is worth 36,000 or he hasn't
I'm not-
stepped out of
I'm-
jurisdiction?
I'm not going to
Right,
put a value on the
of
house
course.
at all.
Yeah, well, he
Yeah.
stepped out of
This is
jurisdiction. I
it,
can
yeah.
tell you it's more than
Yeah.
36,000.
Well, obviously the order was fully okay.
Obvious to who?
When the High Court dealt with it.
But that doesn't matter. What I'm saying to you is the High Court is not above the Constitution in this country, nor is it above common law. They're commercial courts, and they've no jurisdiction here.
This is it, yeah.
Right, well then.
Well, look, guys,
this is the law of the land. It's not operating under the laws of the sea.
We're not going to do one today because obviously you're preventing us from doing anything.
We're not preventing. I'm only asking you to go and check the Constitution and find out where the referendum took place that says a man's house is now viable when he doesn't break the law. I understand if a man commits murder out there and runs into a home, I agree the Gardaí can go into the house because that house is viable. You can go into it because he has broken the law. But that's the only case under our Constitution where a man's home is viable.
Well,
and that's the I didn't make it up. I mean, go home and read it and tell me I'm wrong.
Well, I'm not making it up either, to tell you the truth. But I mean, why am I getting warrants for possession of property?
You should be questioning it. We're here questioning it.
Why should I question a judge of the High Court who is way above me?
But he didn't give the order. He didn't give the order. Your order was signed by your boss, the sheriff.
Germany made the same excuse.
Yes, but your order here, I understand that, but your order is signed by your boss, the sheriff.
Okay.
Right. The role of the sheriff was to protect people, you know.
Yeah.
And it's so antiquated and ancient that you're coming and enforcing these laws. Now, our new laws, the Constitution, are well after the Shire Reef laws came. And the Gardaí are here today under common law, which they're sworn to uphold. And that's the Constitution.
The Gardaí are here today
I have great respect
for my
the Gardaí.
protection.
Why do you need to be protected?
That's why they're there.
Why would anybody be attacking you? There's nobody attacking you, is there? You're making it out like you need protection.
It has happened.
I understand.
It has happened.
Well, look, there's nobody here to
It's always the case.
I understand.
And that's the reason why the Gardaí. So
I understand.
You needn't be trying to drag these people into it.
You brought them.
You brought them.
You're using every little twist and angle to benefit yourselves here. That's what you're doing.
Okay, give me a chance. I have no extra ground with the Gardaí. I think they do a terrific job when they uphold common law, which their oath is to do, and that's all I'm asking them to do. Don't pretend I'm against Gardaí. I'm not. I have never been in trouble with Gardaí before in my life.
Yeah, I never
so
said
I don't have any trouble with the Gardaí. I respect them. But all I'm saying is that they also must respect the Constitution and the laws of this land. You're coming with old Shire Reef laws from the UK, which we quicked out of here years ago.
Right.
Right, and that's all I'm saying to you. Now, you're also saying, why should you question the order
why
given?
Why haven't you dealt with all this stuff long before now?
Because Lee only got in touch with me and I only knew he was getting repossessed, so we intend bringing cases back before the court.
But Lee has gone to the courts himself and appealed all these things.
Yeah, but Lee wasn't educated about it. Yeah, he wasn't educated about it, so we're educating him.
Well,
and that's all. We're asking you to respect the Constitution. You're not above the Constitution. You will agree with that?
Oh, yeah.
Well, then have a look at Section 40 and come back. And if you think we're telling untruths, that's fair enough.
It's not up to me to deal with them matters, to be honest with you.
You're going to break the Constitution because you're told.
I'm not breaking anything.
I was just following orders.
The Constitution.
Can you go and check that?
Would you go and check it out and just see if I'm
not going
right?
to check the Constitution whatsoever. No, it's nothing to do with me.
Constitution.
It's everything to do with you.
It's nothing to do with me. I've been sent here by the sheriff to execute a warrant.
So the Sheriff's Department is above the Constitution?
Well, he's got the order. It's been appealed.
No, that's not the question I asked. I said, is he above the Constitution?
I'm not saying he's above the Constitution.
But it doesn't appeal to you at
Mr.
all.
Wellstead has appealed this order, and he's gone to the High Court.
That's fine.
And yet the order still stands.
That's right, but it's in conflict with the Constitution.
So
we'll need to bring a case. We have a case before the courts coming in April.
Why didn't the High Court say, well, I'm sorry, the County Registrar couldn't give
because
this
they're
order
a
before it's going
commercial
off?
court for making money. That's why. They're a commercial court. That's why when the Gardaí act as policy enforcer, that's where we get the word police enforcer. It's not a matter of seeing it that way.
Well, it seems that
it wasn't the common law court, was it?
This is it, yeah.
It wasn't the common law court.
Well, it wasn't the common law
No,
court.
well then it's a commercial court,
this
right?
Is it, yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, this is
so,
it, yeah.
and that's what I'm
This is
saying.
it, yeah.
So that is not under the Constitution. We here represent the Constitution of Ireland.
Yeah.
And that's all we're saying. We're not here threatening anybody. You're never
Yeah,
threatened.
but obviously you're not going to allow me in to
we're only asking you if the
carry out my
rights to come
duties.
up. Who owns Ulster Bank?
I don't know who owns Ulster
Her
Bank.
Majesty's
Or care
Treasury.
who owns Ulster Bank.
Well, Her Majesty's
Royal
Treasury
Bank-
do.
the
You're
Royal
here doing
Bank
our-
of Scotland.
But you're here doing our work against our Constitution.
That's fair enough.
Absolutely.
That's fair enough.
International
But
treaty there.
Did Lee ask that when he was borrowing the money?
No, he
Who
didn't
owned
because he
it?
wasn't educated. But we're educating him.
He wasn't educated. No.
This is it. But you're not very educated yourself. You told me you didn't know the section, and you're the one enforcing it
For the last 31 years.
for the last 30
And the
years.
Constitution, you don't need to know the Constitution.
Yeah, but look,
It's been wrong for 31 years.
I deal with with people every other day.
Look, you seem like a nice man to me.
All they're interested in when they want to buy a piece of property is where they can get the money.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And the bank
But hold on a second.
When they
Okay.
when
But
they
when the
can't pay
banks,
it back, it's a totally different story
is,
with
I
them.
agree with you, right?
Yeah, that's
but
right,
when
yeah.
the banks got into trouble and broke the laws and looked for the money, the Irish people didn't go evicting them like they should have. They were made bail the people out, and that's another injunction we're bringing.
Of course, yes,
yeah.
this is
So
it,
that's the point, right? And can you prove to us today that the taxpayers' money who bailed out the bondholders are not some of the bondholders in Ulster Bank?
No, I can't.
Why is that?
This is it.
Well, you see, that's the homework you should have done when you were claiming Lee wasn't educated. You should have educated yourself.
I'm not claiming he's not
Yeah.
educated.
Look, you seem like a nice man. I don't want to get in an argument with you. All I'm asking you is respect the Constitution and common law in this land and go and just check. If you find you're right, come back.
The banks have also securitised this mortgage.
All right. Thanks very much, guards. Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Well done, lads.
Sorry, guys.
It sounds like an argument.
Pat Dunn is his name. What? Pat Dunn is his name.
I want to get them driving away.
Yeah, that's what's wrong.
Excuse me, guys, let me out.
41 years.
That's out there. Sorry, let's out there.
Sorry there, bud. Stand back a bit.
Guys, round of applause there.
Bye bye. If every Monday morning was as good as that Monday morning.
Hi Ben, how are you? Good. I saw the video. What an amazing piece of work. How is it that you stopped the guards, the sheriff, and they had court orders and everything to take the house? How was that possible?
Well, the court orders, as you've seen, were signed by the same department as the sheriff. I mean, the county registrar is the sheriff in all counties except Dublin and Cork. And this is absolutely no separation of powers, as I explained to the sheriff. So I find that unlawful and conflict of interest. So